Hey everybody, it's Tristan Shovels here, back with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel deck profile, and even if you're just here for this deck list, remember to like, comment, and subscribe because it really makes a difference for the channel. Yesterday, Master Duel's 3rd anniversary event began, bringing the Fiendsmith and Azumina cards to the game, and they are working great in combination with the Chimera cards that I've been experimenting with ever since those were first released earlier last year. Now, these cards are all Fiend and Illusion type monsters, which allows them to be used in combination with Chimera Fusion to dodge a lot more on-field negation. That was one of the things obstructing this deck when I was playing it with the Melodious cards and Ostinato last month. Now, this deck is much more resilient against Ash Blossom and on-field spot negation because you have 3 powerful engines working together and your opponent won't really know what to negate. And of course, now you can always make Moon of the Closed Heaven and link those off into Fiendsmith Requiem for direct access to the Fiendsmith engine. From there, you can go into Fiendsmith Sequence and make a Fiendsmith Desiree, which will give you some Omni negation at the end of your first turn. As for the Azumina monsters, we're playing 3 Diabellstar the Black Witch, and the target for this is always going to be Deception of the Sinful Spoils, which I'm playing at 1 copy. We're also playing 1 copy of Wanted, Seeker of Sinful Spoils, which you can add off of Azumina Mu Arcilago, which you can special summon using the Hallowed Azumina and the face-up Deception of the Sinful Spoils by tributing 1 monster. You can also bring out Azumina Ilia Sylvia early on in your combo to protect yourself from Nibiru the Primal Being, because when your opponent activates a card or effect, you contribute this card, negate that effect. So it's very easy to set up that kind of negation. And even if you are hit with Nibiru, this deck is incredibly resilient in its current form. And of course it relies on the Chimera Fusion recycling itself from your graveyard to your hand once you special summon Chimera the King of Phantom Beasts or Baphomet the Mythical King. And we've also got a new illusion monster, Elzat Azumina of the White Forest. This is an additional extender for the deck, and you can also add it off of Deception of the Sinful Spoils as well. So let's review the non-engine for the deck. We have 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 copies of Maxi, 1 Molcharm Refoolos to kind of replace the 3rd copy of Maxi. I don't mind drawing this going first too much because you can always discard it for Nightmare Apprentice and search for another illusion monster that way. We have Triple Tactics Talent and Triple Tactics Thrust. This deck is not very well suited to a format with Maxi. I've been seeing that a little less though since the semi-limit, so that's something to keep in mind. But you can set up Infinite Impermanence if you're hit with a monster effect in the main phase like Maxi, or you can punish with Triple Tactics Talent, but I mainly have that for breaking boards going second. We've got 2 Call by the Grave. I don't think you need to be playing Crossout Designator anymore, but you don't need to really cross out Infinite Impermanence because you can dodge that and Effect Veiler with Chimera Fusion a lot of the time. Generally, I try to bait out whatever the opponent's trying to do with Fiendsmith Tract, or better yet, if you draw Fiendsmith Engraver, you can use its effect to search for Tract. Maybe you have the Tract. Just whatever you can do to get your opponent to spend their Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring before you bring out Gazelle, the King of Mythical Claws, and add that Chimera Fusion, because that's the way to make the most of this strategy. As for the rest of the Chimera package, we have Cornfield Kodo, which you can discard to add 1 monster that mentions Chimera Fusion from your deck to your hand, except itself, and the Mirror Sword Knight. In the past, I was always using Mirror Sword Knight to special summon Big Wing Baphomet directly from the deck, but now you don't really want to fusion lock yourself. Then we have Nightmare Apprentice, which I've talked about a little already. Fiendsmith Engraver, one of the greatest cards ever, and you're going to be seeing this all over ladder, so it's a good idea to be playing your own copy as well. Next up we have Diabell's the Original Sin Keeper. This card is great at locking down your opponent with this anti-spell-like effect that forces them to set their cards first. But generally, your opponent is not going to be setting their best spell and trap card first because you can pop it. But when you have Diabell's and Desiree on your side of the field, it feels like no spell or trap card can really disrupt you, which is a great feeling. We're also playing Sinful Spoils of Slumber Morion. This has a Book of Moon effect for special summon monsters, flipping them face down, which is really good against Snake Eye because they obviously need a lot of their cards face up and they want to link summon a lot of the time, and Snake Eyes come back with vengeance with the release of these Azumina cards. You can also send it for the Hallowed Azumina, and then as long as you have an illusion monster on your field, which you will because you've just special summoned one with Hallowed Azumina, you can reset Morion. We also have 2 copies of Fiendsmith Tract. You usually add Fabled Glory off of this, discard it to the graveyard, Fabled Glory comes back via its own effect, and then you can link that off for Fiendsmith's Requiem. Going through the extra deck, we have Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts. This gives you a great discard, and generally you'll have the Cornfield Kotal and Mirror Sword Knight in your graveyard, which will give you a negation of a monster effect on your opponent's side of the field. And if they try to target anything with any kind of effect, you can banish Cornfield Kotal from your graveyard to negate and destroy. Next up, we have Berfomet, the Mythical King. This has much more flexible fusion summoning requirements where you only need 2 monsters with different types that are Beast, Fiend, or Illusion. And you can send Sinister Necrom from your deck to the graveyard with this to access your Fiendsmith engine, or send whichever illusion monster, Cornfield Kotal or Mirror Sword Knight, that you weren't able to set up earlier in the turn. Fiendsmith's Lacrima. You can play this even though it's banned in the TCG, and you don't need Wave Hiking Caesar in this deck because I think this deck can play through Nibiru the Primal Being, and as soon as you have 2 level 6 monsters, your opponent is going to fire off Nibiru the Primal Being because they're afraid that you're going to summon Caesar. So you have the power of the threat of summoning Caesar without actually having to follow up on it and spend that extra deck slot. So I think that this is useful to be playing. Azumina Ilia Sylvia, we've talked about already. Great Omni Negate. Azumina Mu Arceolago. Ideally, you want to be adding Wanted, Seeker, Sinful Spoils with this card. Then we have Azumina Soul Erisicthon. If this card is fusion summoned, you can target 1 card on the field, send it to the graveyard. Great to summon this during the opponent's turn if you don't necessarily have enough material for summoning Guardian Chimera with the Chimera Fusion that you'll be adding back and can set up to mess with your opponent on turn 2. Then we have Chimera, the Illusion Beast, to close out games. Chaos Angel feels better than ever to play. SP Little Knight, too good to pass up on. And Moon of a Closed Heaven is the key to tying every other engine into the Fiendsmith engine. And we have Apollousa Bow of the Goddess. In those situations where you have Fiendsmith Sequence on field, you've already fusion summoned Desiree, and you have enough material that you want to link off for that added negation. With all that being said, Fiendsmith Engraver has changed Master Duel forever, so let's see it in action. Let's get into those games. First up, we have a duel against Sky Striker that shows off what this Chimera Azumina Fiendsmith deck can do, going first entirely uninterrupted. We have a pretty good hand with Cornfield Kotal, send that to the graveyard to search for the Mirror Sword Knight. Summon the Mirror Sword Knight, tribute it to Special Summon Gazelle, the King of Mythical Claws, search for the Sinister Necrom since we already have the Chimera Fusion. We can fusion summon with that into Chimera, the King of Phantom Beast for a discard, and chain block the search for Nightmare Apprentice. We have back the Chimera Fusion, get an extra card in hand, and now we use Sinister Necrom to summon a Dusted Gold directly from the deck. And we link that off for Fiendsmith Requiem. Special summon Fiendsmith Engraver, attach the Requiem from the graveyard as an equip, and then send that for Diabellstar. And we've got Deception of the Sinful Spoils set. Let's sacrifice Diabellstar to use the Hallowed Azumina. Summon Azumina Mu Arceolago. Probably could have gone for Ilia Sylvia there, but I really wanted to overextend and see what happened. Let's summon out Fiendsmith Sequence, use its effect to special summon the Fiendsmith Desiree, and we keep it on the field for link material because we know we can link up that sequence after summoning Nightmare Apprentice. Search for Diabell's, we've got a Sinful Spoils card in the graveyard, and Hallowed Azamina is back in our hand, so we can special summon that Diabell's directly from our hand. And after that, I draw Fiendsmith Tract. It was worth going for that wanted extra search because now we have Fabled Lure, special summon that. And we have Apollousa, both the Goddess on our field, which will be 3 monster negations. Set Chimera Fusion, attach the Fiendsmith Sequence to get those negates from Desiree, and pass. After seeing Upstart, I knew it was Sky Striker, so destroying their back row was important. I destroyed the Chimera, the flying mythical beast, because I wanted to special summon the Nightmare Apprentice to get an extra card in hand, and I meant to summon Guardian Chimera here, but I couldn't, so I went for Soul Essek, and I can send with the Desiree's effect as well. But they've got Triple Tactics talent, so that's the punish. But they actually take Diabell's, but I can just negate that with Apollousa, and they go for the thrust, but we have Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and they have to surrender after that. So, just a game where I was experimenting with what this deck could do. So, going into this new meta, the number one threat is Fiendsmith Snake Eye. We'll see about that during this duel. We are going first, and we can use Nightmare Apprentice to special summon itself, sending the Foola, since we can't really use that from now on, but it's okay that that's negated because now we can use Cornfield Kotal, add Mirror Sword Knight, and we're off to the races. Let's tribute that to special summon Gazelle, the King of Mythical Claws, add Chimera Fusion, fuse those two off into Baphomet. Then we get the search from the Gazelle, and we can send Sinister Necrom with Baphomet here, adding LZ for further extension. Let's add back Chimera Fusion, use that Sinister Necrom to special summon the Dust of Gold, link that off into Fiendsmith Requiem as it's a light beam, and then we can special summon Fiendsmith Engraver directly from our deck, use the Tract to discard the Fabled Lure, and now Lure returns to the field for extra link material. We can make Fiendsmith Sequence, fusion summon Desiree from our graveyard, and now we can attach that sequence to Desiree, set Morian, set Chimera Fusion, and pass to the opponent. Okay, the opponent starts off their turn with Diabell Star of the Black Witch. We can negate that with Mirror Sword Knight. And here they already had the Deception, but I decided to negate that right away because I didn't want them tributing Diabell Star once it's face down. I forgot that you couldn't turn normal summon monsters face down, but it's okay because I can fusion summon a Sixth Run, send that to the graveyard. They use the original Sinful Spoils in their graveyard to add Poplar from their deck, but now that they've used that effect, they can't use the other original Sinful Spoils effect, and they have to surrender from there. So it's time for game 3, and it's a long one against White Forest Azamina, and so it's an Azamina versus Azamina face-off. We are luckily going first. We can use Cornfield Kotal to add Gazelle, the King of Mythical Claws, and we resolve adding Chimera Fusion as well. Let's fusion summon Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, and we get the Gazelle Surge along with the discard and add Nightmare Apprentice, discard for that, and we add Diabell's the original Sin Keeper. We have the Morian Sinful Spoils in the graveyard, so we know that it's easy to summon Diabell's from there and fusion summon into Chimera the Illusion Beast. And I should have waited on that until the next turn, but I guess I thought if I could special summon Mirror Sword Knight, I would get the Chimera Fusion to use here on turn 2. Obviously, that's not quite how that works when I search for Baphomet and get the Gazelle as well. Okay, the opponent uses Elzetta the White Forest to send a trap card from their hand, and I had to set that face down before they start Synchro Summoning, but they can send it for Diabell Star. Okay, I have to negate that so they don't get into Deception, but they have Diabell's as well, and they use its effect to pop my Diabell's, but at this point, I really should have saved the Infinite Impermanence too, right? Because it's like, I wasn't really threatening them by forcing them to set all their spells and traps. Like, I could have afforded to lose Diabell's here. Anyway, I guess that shut down their quick play spell cards, which could have been beneficial, but they're able to add Sinful Spoils of the White Forest and Deception anyway. So they use Deception, and they're moving from the Synchro side of the deck to using the Hallowed Azamina to bring out Saint Azamina, sending the quick play that they can't really use. Saint Azamina is very interesting. It prevents a lot of forms of targeting for the opposing player, so there were a lot of moves in this duel that I thought I could make that I couldn't. Anyway, they bring out their own Fiendsmith Engraver and Fiendsmith Sequence, and they make Lacrima, which I think was a mistake because Desiree would have been a much larger threat to me, but I think they thought that they could, do something to end the game on this turn, and they try to target my Phantom Beast, but I can negate and destroy that with the Cornfield Kodo. They use the Hallowed Azamina, and because of that, their Moa Regina's effect destroys 2 of my monsters. Okay, I had to bait out the targeting at some point, and they can't destroy Nightmare Apprentice by battle, so we are in a stalemate here. Okay, I can draw Elzette, adding Chimera Fusion back from the graveyard, summon Gazelle, add Evil Hero, Sinister Necrom, Fusion Summon again. They set these cards face down, but it's only so they can destroy them with Moa Regina, and that's not too big of a deal. Unfortunately, I have to fuse off the Guardian Chimera that I summoned, so that was a slight misplay on my part, because I didn't really think I'd have a target if I dodged the targeting negation. But it's better this way because we bring out the Baphomet, we add another Nightmare Apprentice, we've got Sinister Necrom in the graveyard, special summon out of Dusted Gold, and we've got another Light Fiend for Fiendsmith Requiem. We've got Fiendsmith Engraver, and we can Synchro Summon into Chaos Angel from there, banishing Moa Regina. Again, we can't target the Saint Azamina, so we're going to have to figure something else out. I take the 500 from the battle and the 1200. I decided to banish their back row with SP Little Knight. It's okay for us to have Chaos Angel in the graveyard. Again, I didn't really need that battle protection. All I needed was to get rid of their back row. Okay, they summon out Fiendsmith Engraver, and that's all they can really do is battle with that and pass. They summon out Requiem. They're bringing out the second Engraver from their deck. They link those off into Fiendsmith Sequence, and that's not too big of a deal. Now I can target cards again because that Saint Azamina is gone, so I can bring back Chimera, and they've got Lacrima again. I guess they were trying to go for burn damage or something. I'm not really too sure. Anyway, they end on Apollousa, and they put back the Sequence to deal that 1200 burn damage. Okay, let's hopefully wrap this up from here, and Triple Tactics is going to allow us to do it. Let's add back Chimera Fusion. Special summon Engraver from the graveyard by putting a Dusted Gold back. That baits out their monster effects, so now the Apollousa is ours. Hopefully we can wrap it up here, but nope, they've called by the grave, so we have to just do as much battle damage as we can here since Nightmare Apprentice was negated, and we can search for one more monster to wrap it up. But I can link those off for Moon of the Close Heaven, link those off for Fiendsmith Sequence, and make the Desiree that I've been worried my opponent would make the whole game, but now I have it, and it's in attack mode, so that they cannot destroy it with their own Diabellstar if they draw that. And yeah, they try to bring back their Fiendsmith Engraver here, and they link it off for Fiendsmith Requiem. They're trying to get Requiem back into rotation so that they can attach it and try to target and destroy, but they cannot target Desiree. Also, a Chaos Angel in the graveyard I could have brought back at any time, so the opponent scoops it up. What a back and forth game. So we're back with the deck list, and I think those replays only scratch the surface of what Fiendsmith and Azamina are capable of in combination with the Chimera deck that I've always enjoyed playing. I'm excited for the rest of Master Duel's 3rd anniversary and seeing where the meta goes from here. I actually got top 8 in Luke Von Karma's Cup of Aces tournament with a very similar Chimera Azamina Fiendsmith list, so I've definitely had a great time playing with these cards, and I hope you are able to find success with the deck as well, and I'll be making a lot more videos about Fiendsmith in the near future. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.